Hey, this is Lewis from Oxygen, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a multi-line button just like this one. So Jeremy Poland has posted in the official Oxygen user group on Facebook. Would anyone know how to style a button like this with Oxygen? Well, yes, in fact, I would. So Jeremy, I'm going to show you how to do it. So what we have here is a button with a little bit of a shadow around the button. Then we have this sort of outer rim, which is light red on top and a darker red on the bottom. And then we have the inner area of the button, which is dark red on top, lighter red on the bottom. It's a gradient. Then we have two lines of text, so it's a multi-line button, and the text has a little bit of a shadow effect on it. And the button has rounded corners. So let's go ahead and create this button with Oxygen. So from inside of Oxygen, the first thing I'm going to do is add in a link wrapper. So a link wrapper is a type of link that allows you to nest other elements inside of it. So inside this link wrapper, we're going to put a div, and then we're going to put the two lines of text. That way you click on any of the lines of text, anything inside this link wrapper, it will be a link. And of course, this button links to a phone number. So let's make this link to a phone number. So to link to a phone number, just type in tel, and then the phone number, 678-999-8212. That's not my number, please don't call it. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and set up the red gradient background. So light red on top, dark red on the bottom. Let's go ahead, go to Advanced, Background, and scroll down to Gradient. And let's add a color. Let me go ahead and add this red. I'm going to call this red A. And then we're going to add a darker red. I'm going to call this red B. And there we go. Light red on top, dark red on the bottom, light red on top, dark red on the bottom. Now, let's add in a div inside of this link wrapper with dark red on the top and light red on the bottom. So to do that, we'll go Add, Div, Advanced, Background, Gradient, add a color, and we're just going to use red B first and red A second. Now we want to add some space around this div so we get the rim effect. So we're going to go back to All Styles, Size and Spacing, Margin, and we're going to add 8 pixels of margin on all sides. And there we go. Now let's go ahead and go back to the link wrapper and create the border radius effect, the rounded corner. So we'll go to Advanced, Borders, Border Radius, and I'm just going to use a very large number to give it a complete radius, make it circular on the corners. And let's apply this same radius to the inner div. So Advanced, Borders, Border Radius, 100, and there we go. So as you can see, it's starting to take shape. Here is the reference button, and here's what we have so far. Now let's go ahead and add the lines of text inside of the inner div. So we'll click that div, we'll go Add. We're going to go ahead and add a heading and a text element. Let's go ahead and set the phone number. So that's going to be 678-999-8212. And the text is going to say, proudly serving Ypsilanti. Okay, here we go. And sometimes if you double click this text when you're trying to edit it inside of a link wrapper, it might actually try to call that number or go to the link. So if you get that warning message, just click cancel. You don't want to leave the page. Okay, let's go ahead and select the div that is wrapping both of the text elements here and make the text white. So we'll go to Advanced, Typography, Color, White. And let's adjust the size of this text. So let's turn this down to, say, 24 pixels. Let's turn this down to 14 pixels, and let's go to this heading and set the line height to 1. So go to Advanced, Typography, Line Height 1 to tighten that up a bit. And let's turn the font size here. Nah, that's looking pretty good. Okay, let's go back to this div now and add some space around this text. So we click the div, go to Advanced, Size and Spacing. Let's go with 15 pixels padding on the top and bottom, and 25 pixels padding on the left and right. In fact, that might be a little excessive. Let's turn it down to 13 and 27. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So here's our button. Now let's go ahead and set up the shadows. So to set up the box shadow, I'm going to go to Advanced, Effects, Box Shadow, and we're going to add in a black shadow, semi-transparent, let's say about 30%, horizontal offset 2, vertical offset 6. Let's give it about 20 pixels of blur. And there we go, there's that shadow. Let me turn down the darkness just so you can see it better in the video. But we want something more subtle. So again, we're gonna go with about 30% transparency here. And okay, here's the shadow on our button. Now let's go ahead and set up shadows on the text. So for the heading, we're gonna go to Advanced, Effects, Text Shadow. Let's give it a black shadow. We'll adjust the transparency momentarily. 1 pixel horizontal offset, 1 pixel vertical offset, and let's give it about 4 pixels of blur. And let's move this slider until it looks good. It's a little darker than we want. Let's go with about 50% transparency there. And then for the text underneath, let's go to Advanced, Effects, Text Shadow. Let's use another black shadow, 1 pixel offset, both horizontal and vertical, 1 pixel blur, and let's turn down that transparency to about 40% transparent. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, there is our button. Now let's go ahead and create a hover effect. So using the new CSS Transforms feature in Oxygen 2.2, you can actually apply these transforms to any element state, for example, hover. So we want to make this bigger on hover. We want to scale it up. Let's go to the link wrapper. Let's go to State, Hover, go to Advanced, Effects, Transform. We're going to add a transform. Transform type is going to be scale. This is going to make it bigger. And on the x-axis, we're going to make it 1.1 times bigger, 1.1 on the y, 1.1 on the z, which won't do anything because it's not 3D. Okay, so there we go. We've made the button bigger now. Let's go back to the original state. When you mouse over the button, it gets bigger. Now let's go ahead and make this effect happen smoothly. So we're going to go back to Effects, go to Transition, and under Transition Duration, let's choose maybe 0.5 seconds. And now when you mouse over the button, it scales up nicely. Now if the button is getting bigger, it's as if it's popping out of the screen towards you. So that means the shadows should change size too, assuming light comes from the sky, which is a design principle to keep in mind when setting up shadows. So let's go ahead and go back to Effects, Box Shadow. Got 2 pixel, 6 pixel, 20 pixel blur here. Let's go ahead and change to the hover state. And we'll use the same color for the shadow. 2 pixel, 6 pixel offset, but a bigger blur because now the button's farther away from the background. The shadow should be more dispersed. Let's go back to the original state, mouse over, and there we go. The button comes out, the shadow expands. Okay, that is how to create a multi-line button with an outer rim effect, rounded corners, and some cool shadows, and a great hover effect using Oxygen. Jeremy, I hope this helps. Let me know what you think.